All right, so today we're going to get into something that hopefully you won't need,
Right.
but you could really use if you ever find yourself in a tricky spot.
Yeah.
And that is police encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not about fear-mongering here.
Yeah.
We just want to give you the knowledge to handle any interaction with law enforcement confidently.
For sure.
I love digging into this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And today we've got a YouTube video by a lawyer breaking down
Oh, wow.
12 common lies police officers use.
Interesting.
And it is fascinating and honestly a little unsettling.
Yeah, what's interesting is that these aren't just like blatant falsehoods.
Right.
A lot of these tactics, they kind of operate in that legal gray area.
Right.
And they really exploit those subtle power dynamics that are present in these interactions.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so important to understand what's really going on.
For sure.
Like the first lie on the list is, I can't help you if you don't talk to me. On the surface, it almost sounds reasonable, right?
It does. It really plays on our natural desire, I think, to cooperate, to be helpful, especially when we're dealing with authority figures.
Totally.
But the reality is your silence can be a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
Legally, you have the absolute right to remain silent.
Right.
And anything you say can and will be used against you.
So even if you're innocent and you just want to clear things up, it's like walking into a negotiation blindfolded.
Right.
You wouldn't reveal your strategy
Exactly.
before you know what the other side even wants.
Right, exactly. Silence forces them to rely on actual evidence.
Right.
And not just your words, which, let's be honest, can be easily twisted or misinterpreted.
For sure.
Yeah.
This next one really highlights that power dynamic shift you mentioned. Line number 2 is, come down to the station. I just want to hear your side of the story. Sounds innocent enough.
Well,
like they're genuinely interested.
Right, like a friendly chat.
Right.
But you have to think about the setting. You're on their turf. You're surrounded by uniforms, procedures.
Right.
It subtly shifts from a conversation to an interrogation.
Yeah.
They control the environment, the pacing of the questions.
So what's the move here? Just politely decline and say, I'd like to speak to an attorney first.
Precisely.
Okay.
It is your right.
Yeah.
And asserting it early shows that you're aware of the legal landscape.
Oh, okay.
And it shifts that power dynamic back towards a level playing field.
I like it. All right. This next one always makes me laugh when I see it in movies.
Okay.
This conversation is off the record.
Huh?
Is there any situation where that's actually true with the police?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's a complete myth.
Okay.
Everything you say can be documented and used against you.
Right.
Imagine a hidden camera rolling the entire time.
Right.
That's closer to reality.
Okay. This next one is tricky.
Okay.
Because it appeals to that hope for leniency.
Mm.
Line number 4 is, I will personally speak to the judge or the prosecutor if you cooperate.
Oh, yeah.
Tempting, right?
Yeah. Very tempting. But it's a promise they often can't keep.
Right.
And judges and prosecutors are ultimately bound by evidence,
Yeah.
not good intentions.
Right.
Remember, staying silent is rarely held against you.
Okay.
But talking can have serious consequences.
It's like they're dangling a carrot.
Yes.
But the stick is actually a lot closer and a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Line number 5 is almost insulting.
Okay.
Someone else already confessed and they told us what you did.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
This is a classic pressure tactic.
Yeah.
Think about it. If they had a solid confession
Right.
and enough evidence, you'd already be in handcuffs.
Exactly.
This is about getting you flustered, maybe contradicting yourself.
Right.
Or revealing information they didn't already have.
So don't fall for it.
Right.
It's all a mind game.
Yep.
Line number 6 takes that intimidation up a notch.
Okay.
We already know what happened, and if you don't talk, it's going to get worse for you. Whoa, heavy.
They're preying on your fear and uncertainty, trying to create this sense of urgency.
Right.
But here's the thing. If they truly knew everything, why are they even bothering to question you?
Right. If they have the smoking gun, they don't need a confession.
Exactly.
They're looking for something specific, some detail, some angle they haven't quite figured out.
Exactly. And you don't want to be the one to give them that missing piece.
No, you don't. All right, this next one is especially relevant if you ever find yourself in a situation involving alcohol.
Okay.
Line number 7 is, just take this breath test and I can determine you're sober and let you go. It almost sounds helpful.
It's designed to sound that way.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. Refusing a breathalyzer can lead to penalties.
Right.
But blowing into one gives them concrete evidence of your blood alcohol level.
So it's a real lose-lose situation.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Understanding your rights and the consequences of both choices is vital.
Right.
This is where knowing the law in your state comes into play. And potentially consulting with an attorney who can advise you on the best course of action.
Now for some classic CSI stuff.
Okay.
Line number 8. We found your fingerprints at the scene of the crime.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun.
Time for a reality check if they had a clear fingerprint match.
Yeah.
And enough evidence to arrest you based on that.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't be having this conversation.
It takes time to process fingerprints, right?
It does.
Are they really going to have those results in minutes?
It's highly unlikely, especially in a recent event.
Right.
It's possible they're bluffing, seeing if you'll panic, and accidentally reveal something incriminating.
Line number 9 follows that same pattern.
Okay.
We have an eyewitness or video footage putting you at the scene. Sounds pretty damning.
But again, if they had ironclad evidence, why the pressure tactics?
Right.
It's like a poker player going all in with a weak hand, hoping you'll fold.
Don't give away your cards.
Exactly.
This next one is a power play for sure. Line number 10. We can get a search warrant in a few minutes. It's better if you just let us in.
They might be trying to bypass the legal process by intimidating you.
Oh, wow.
Never consent to a search without a warrant.
Okay.
You have the right to protect your property and privacy.
It's like they're trying to shortcut the system by getting you to voluntarily waive your rights.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
This next one is devious.
Right.
Line number 11. Your friend already ratted you out. Talk about playing mind games.
Police can and do lie about this.
Really?
To create division and pressure.
Wow.
They want you to doubt your support system and feel isolated.
So even if it sounds like your buddy threw you under the bus, stand your ground, reiterate your right to remain silent, and request an attorney.
Exactly. Don't let their tactics dictate your actions.
And finally, line number 12, which might surprise some folks.
Okay.
You just failed a polygraph.
Sounds scary.
Polygraphs are actually notoriously unreliable.
Okay.
And are generally inadmissible in court. So the bottom line is never take a polygraph.
Yeah.
It's more likely to hurt than help your case.
You are not obligated to participate in any tests or procedures without the advice of your attorney.
Really?
Remember that.
Wow, this is a lot to take in, but I'm already feeling more empowered just knowing these tactics exist.
Good.
What else should our listeners know?
Well, we've covered the lies.
Yeah.
But understanding the broader context and your rights is key to navigating these encounters successfully.
Right.
We'll get into that in just a second.
It's wild to think that, like, these seemingly simple phrases can have such a huge impact on how people react in these situations.
It really underscores the power of language.
Right.
Especially when it's coming from someone in a position of authority.
Right.
And let's be honest, police interactions can be inherently stressful.
Yeah.
Even for folks who haven't done anything wrong.
Exactly. Your heart's racing, you trying to process what's happening. And then you've got someone using these tactics that are specifically designed to, like, throw you off balance.
Yeah, to make you feel flustered, to make you feel like you need to say something to get out of the situation, when really you don't.
So knowing your rights
Yes.
is absolutely crucial.
It's like having a mental checklist in those moments.
Right.
Reminding yourself of the boundaries that you are entitled to.
So let's break that down a bit.
Okay.
What are the key rights we should all have memorized?
Well, first and foremost, you have the right to remain silent.
Okay.
You don't have to answer any questions beyond providing basic identification if they ask.
And that applies even if they say something like, if you've got nothing to hide, why won't you talk?
Absolutely. That's a classic guilt trip.
Right.
Try to make you feel like you are obligated to answer.
Yeah.
But remember, the burden of proof is on them.
Right.
Not on you.
Okay, what else?
You have the right to an attorney.
Okay.
And not just any attorney. An attorney of your choosing. You can request to speak to one at any point during an interaction. And questioning should stop until your lawyer is present.
This feels like a good time to mention the ACLU.
Yes.
They have a ton of resources on legal rights, specifically around police encounters.
They're a fantastic organization.
Yeah.
They even have resources available in multiple languages.
Wow.
Recognizing that not everyone is fluent in English or legalese.
That's great. So we've got the right to remain silent. We've got the right to an attorney. What else is on that mental checklist?
You have the right to refuse a search.
Okay.
Of your person, your vehicle, or your home without a warrant.
What exactly constitutes a search, though? Is it just if they're, like, rummaging through your stuff?
Yeah.
Or is it something more subtle than that?
It can be pretty nuanced.
Okay.
A search is generally considered any government intrusion.
Okay.
Upon a person's reasonable expectation of privacy.
Okay.
This could include like physically looking through your belongings.
Right.
But it could also involve things like using drug-sniffing dogs.
Oh, wow.
Or thermal imaging technology.
So even seemingly high-tech methods can be considered searches.
Absolutely.
What happens if they conduct an illegal search? Like if I say no, but they do it anyway?
Well, anything they find during an illegal search could potentially be inadmissible in court.
Okay.
This is why documenting the interaction, if possible, is so crucial.
Got it. Okay, so knowing these rights is the first step.
Right.
But it can still be intimidating to actually assert them in the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like a lot to remember when you're already feeling stressed.
It is. It's one thing to like know your rights intellectually.
Yeah.
But it's another to have the confidence to exercise them under pressure.
Right.
When you're in that heightened emotional state.
So what can our listeners do to like prepare themselves, aside from memorizing the ACLU website, of course?
Yeah, one helpful technique is role-playing.
Okay.
Practice asserting your rights in a safe environment with a friend or family member.
Okay.
It might feel a little silly, but it can really build that muscle memory.
Okay.
And make it less daunting in a real-life situation.
I love that it's like a dress rehearsal.
Exactly.
For a potentially high-stakes performance.
All right.
And you know I'm all about over-preparing. What other advice do you have for staying calm and collected in those moments?
Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Stay focused. And try to be polite but firm.
Okay.
Remember, you are not obligated to engage in casual conversation.
Right.
Or answer any questions beyond what's legally required.
And what about those situations where things escalate or you feel like your rights are being violated?
Don't hesitate to ask for a supervisor.
Okay.
You can also reiterate your request for an attorney. And state clearly that you are exercising your right to remain silent.
It's like that saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
If you feel something's wrong, speak up.
Exactly.
Now, I know we've been painting a potentially bleak picture here.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that not all interactions with law enforcement are negative.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Most officers are dedicated professionals.
Yeah.
Who are genuinely committed to protecting their communities.
Right.
And there are definitely times when cooperating with law enforcement is the best course of action.
Okay.
Even if it feels a bit counterintuitive based on everything we've discussed.
So how do we know when to cooperate and when to hold our ground?
Well, if you're a witness to a crime,
Okay.
or you have information that could help solve a case, it's often in everyone's best interest to provide that information.
But always while being aware of your rights?
Exactly.
And making sure you're not being pressured
Yes.
into saying something you'll regret.
Maintaining that balance
Yeah.
between cooperation and self-preservation is key.
This is all such valuable information, and I bet there are folks listening who have their own experiences, maybe even some questions.
For sure.
So let's dive into those questions and some final thoughts right after.
Sounds good.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From those sneaky tactics to understanding our basic rights.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I'm curious, what's like the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
It's simple. Really, knowledge is power.
Okay.
In any interaction with law enforcement, awareness is your shield.
I love that.
The more you understand the psychology at play, the less likely you are to be caught off guard or manipulated.
Awareness is your shield.
Yeah.
I like that. It's about protecting yourself, but also about ensuring a fair and respectful interaction, like on both sides.
Exactly. When you know your rights and assert them calmly and confidently, it sets a different tone.
Right.
You're basically saying, I'm not here to play games. I'm here to ensure things are done by the book.
But let's be real. There are probably a million other tactics out there that we haven't even touched on. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Law enforcement agencies are constantly adapting their methods.
Right.
And interrogation techniques are always evolving.
Yeah.
It's a cat and mouse game in some ways.
So how can our listeners stay ahead of the curve? Where can they go to keep learning about this stuff?
Well, we've mentioned the ACLU, and they're a fantastic resource.
Yeah.
They have a wealth of information on your rights. And they often host workshops and webinars on these very topics.
And don't forget the power of a good old-fashioned Google search.
Right.
There are tons of articles, videos, legal blogs that break down these complex issues in a way that's easy to understand.
Exactly. And if you're really feeling lost, don't be afraid to reach out to legal professionals in your area. Many offer free consultations or pro bono services to help people understand their rights.
That's great advice, because at the end of the day, it's all about empowering yourself and navigate these situations effectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The more you know about your rights and the legal system, the better equipped you'll be to handle any situation that comes your way.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not just about avoiding negative encounters.
Right.
It's also about ensuring that when you do interact with law enforcement, it's a fair and respectful exchange for everyone involved.
That's such a crucial point. This isn't about being anti-police. It's about being pro-knowledge, pro-fairness, and pro-knowing your rights.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, this conversation doesn't have to end here. We'd love to hear from our listeners.
Yes. What resonated with you? Do you have any personal experiences you'd like to share? Let's keep this conversation going and create a community of informed and empowered individuals.
Because when we share knowledge and experiences, we all benefit.
That's a wrap on today's deep dive, everyone. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered.